We've talked about sustainable development, we've talked about climate crisis, we've talked about sustainable development with the kind of environmental imbalance that we are seeing and the need for sustainable development as you and I speak today. First and foremost, can I understand from you, when we talk about our cities, we in Delhi, of course, and I can't repeat it enough, that we have seen all kinds of crises. When we talk about global warming, when we talk about climate change, how is climate crisis impacting us and our cities?
Shreya, thank you for your supplements. And so far as today's session is concerned, it is all about India's global leadership. To celebrate India's global leadership, particularly in sustainability and decarbonization. In India, we have celebrated G20. We have in India's presidency last year, and India has showcased to the world that in climate change, although we are not responsible for the problem, so far as historic emissions are concerned, so far as per capita emissions are concerned, but we are certainly a part of the solution, and we are in the forefront to solve the problem as a global leader. Come to the sustainability, we have UN SDGs, and there are 17 SDGs, and India is trying its best to meet them through the approach taking all the states into confidence, union territories into confidence. India's global score is 66%, and also Indian states' average score is almost similar. IIST, the institute I represent as the Director General, we have a lot of research on this field, and we found out that in a sustainability space, which is basically tells us about the three verticals: social sustainability, environmental sustainability, and economic sustainability. And in all the three fronts, there are 17 SDGs, and some states are doing excellent in some of the SDGs, whereas other states are doing in other SDGs. And Niti Aayog collaborates with us to bring out India's sustainability index and state index so that the states will compete among themselves. So this is how the climate and sustainability leadership of India is showcased through the entire conference of parties system, that the global system is there. And India has always shown the way to the world how it is playing its effective role to taking all the states and countries together.
Mr. Panigarhi, at this moment, can I understand from you a couple of interesting points that you mentioned, how India is leading the way. And for those of you who don't know, Mr. Panigarhi has also been, participating in talks where India is leading when it comes to climate crisis at COP. He's been instrumental in the formulation of the policies when we talk about climate change and environmental challenges that India has to deal with. India is a vast country with diverse terrains, with diverse populations who have diverse habits. In that context, when we talk about sustainable development and we talk about rural and urban India, there's a huge difference. And, if you go to rural India, they'll say कि अरे हम तो अभी develop करने शुरू हुए हैं, अभी तो facilities आ रही हैं, हमको क्यों बोल रहे हो? Urban India, if you come, they'll say, abhi to, we've just started living that life. Why should we stop? You should go tell the others who are wasting resources. What kind of a challenge do you face there when it comes to adoption of practices that lead to sustainable development and the resistance to them in the rural India and urban India?
You are very true. India has its own ways of living. If you see our lifestyle, it is driven by values from ancient days till now. If you see in rural areas as well as in our urban areas, we have a common principles of living. We don't waste anything. We normally respect the nature. We worship the nature, like natural elements, trees, sun. All these are worshipped in our culture, irrespective of religion, and that is always there. And we, all of us, historically, if you'll see, we follow a path of austerity and Atmasayam. And irrespective of that, because of the different changes in lifestyles, we are through a transition, which is reflected more in urban areas compared to rural areas. And now the rapid urbanization is happening such a pace that the rural areas has been urbanized, and there is a lot of rural-urban migration. So considering the present situation, the climate change has been realized that the weather is changing very fast. The weather patterns are not as before. The seasons has been shifted. There is not the overall rainy days has been reduced, but the rain has been intense, causing flash floods and other kind of natural calamities. Coming to the temperature rise, coming to the ocean sea level rise, coming to the impact of climate change on food security, like agricultural production has gone down. There are in many patches in the country. IIST has engaged with Indian Agricultural Research Institute, and we have found out that in central India, how the wheat production has drastically gone down. And due to lack of water availability and higher temperature, there are many specified species, sensitive species, who requires comparatively cooler environment and more water are getting extinct. And they have vanished. They are into the history of Red Book now. So we have increase of temperature. You must have seen recent IPCC report. There is 1.5 degree increase in the global temperature that average human can tolerate. So in such a situation, there is a 32 to 33% reduction in global biodiversity. There is a water quality and quantity has been very badly impacted. Agricultural productivity has considerably reduced. And all these changes and adverse impact of climate change happening. Now, in last session also we listened. The entire global ecosystem is hugely disturbed. The cold currents are not flowing where it used to. Many of them are converted into hot currents. They have changed their path of flowing. If you see the air pressure belts, they have been shifted. Earlier, you must have seen in the eastern coast of India, there used to be constant cyclones, but now it has come to the western coast as well. So the say it air system, water system, biological system, biodiversity, all the ecosystems are not either complementing or supplementing each other. So in such a situation, it requires a urgent attention. And common mass don't understand the scientific things to this extent, but they know there is a different time and climate is happening, and so they have to be more sensitive. But so the questions arises how to tackle this issue so far as other challenges are concerned.
Mr. Panigarhi, amid all of this that you mentioned, we've had COP28 and now we're heading towards the next COP. What do you think should be on the agenda? What do you think is the primary focus that all of us should be emphasizing upon right now? And countries across the world leaders should be taking action upon?
Very important questions indeed. The climate is happening, everybody knows it. So from where the funds will come from? The major problem today to fix the climate change, we need technology, we need finance. So technology will come through technology transfer. The developing nations doesn't have enough technology with them. So it will come through transfer from the developed ones. So the kind of technology transfer should have taken in a pace. It is not happening, irrespective of a lot of facilitation by the governments of developing country. In the other hand, let it be technology or any other problem, finance is the key. We had a detailed discussion in COP28, as you told, where there are many challenges, and particularly the climate finance was a very big issue. And climate finance is again classified into adaptation finance and mitigation finance. In adaptation finance, there is adaptation fund, which is peanuts, inadequate to meet the global requirements of developing worlds and underdeveloped worlds. And at the same time, to face the crisis of climate change, we need climate finance, which is to a huge quantity. And huge amount in trillions.
But Mr. Panigarhi, when we talk about climate finance, the whole tussle about developed countries paying up more and developing countries being less responsible for it is still continuing. We haven't been able to make that headway from that tussle between the developed and the developing world. When you're at that talk, when you're having those negotiations and the priorities are kept forward, how does one move forward? What is India placing on the table that time?
In COP28, the Article 6, which is the carbon markets mechanism, could not able to discussed. And so COP26, it is main agenda that it will decide on market-based mechanism, that is Article 6.2, 6.4 and 6.8. Whereas on the other hand, we have highly ambitious NDCs. If you see in the Kyoto Protocol, we hadn't any target as such. But now we have a target, being the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases. And to reduce, so we are supposed to pay carbon taxes. So in such a situation, Article 6.2 allow us bilaterally we can cooperate, two countries can cooperate in their emission reduction and through the carbon trading mechanism. Whereas 6.4 allow the countries to establish a carbon market in which the credits can be traded. In India, we have a vibrant system is being generated, Indian carbon market, which is in the final stage of operational, to be operationalized soon. In addition, we need a lot of climate risk finance. Like these natural disasters are happening, so the industries and businesses are losing their capital, they are losing their investment. So how many, the insurance sector, the banking sector in particular, they are very serious. How to mitigate this kind of climate risks and how to disclose them in a scientific method and manage them. So appropriate methods is being developed by Reserve Bank of India, and there are climate risks guidelines has come which the banking and insurance sector are adopting, and the likely climate risks is being estimated, mapped, estimated, and after the disclosure, how to manage them in terms of financial risk coverage that is being prepared. So all these and the NDC, National Determined Contribution, which India has committed, like you have Panchamrut, which Indian Prime Minister has committed in COP26. To make it happen, we have a there is a huge requirement of finance for making NDC operational, for which there is a shortage of climate fund, for which we are thinking for blended finance. So that the public finance along with private finance that could be blended to meet the requirement. The government funding or public finance could be made available with a low cost interest, whereas private investment requires profit. So how to manage them and proper business models are being developed.
Okay. My last question to you, Mr. Panigarhi, how do you see this moving forward? You know, the fact is that the governments can take as much as action as they want. Of course, it's our responsibility as individuals also to work towards it, to battle this crisis. But how do you see this moving forward? Do you see this actually finding, a proper solution and we overcoming this crisis, this battle against climate change in the near future?
There are two important solutions are there. One is by changing our lifestyles, which all of us can do. Yeah. We need to adopt a climate-friendly lifestyle. We need to adopt a low-carbon lifestyle, or we can adopt a decarbonized lifestyle. Another option is we need to go for a decarbonized economy. We need to adopt a decarbonized society. The kind of the activities either we are doing at individual level or at the societal level or for the trade and business, for any purposes, that needs to be examined, and we need to find out the alternative sustainable path which will produce comparatively negligible greenhouse gases, and such options are available, and we must explore them as far as possible. And for that, and to make that possible, for societal, business and industry level emission reduction, we need risk finance, we need blended finance.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Panigarhi, for enlightening us with what sustainable development is, how we can go about it, and what countries across the world can learn from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.